Another team has had a similar project and if they've used the tools that we use, and now I have a network of people that I can reach out to and see if they have a solution that maybe we haven't thought of before.
Hello again and welcome. Thank you for joining us to episode 7, Network of Advice in the Society of the Few. My name is Robert Schein with Madison Evans here today, and we're going to walk you through some tips and tricks to help you on your financial future so that it's brighter and more confident, more organized, and you're just owning your financial future. So come along with us today and let's have a wonderful time in this episode. All right, Madison, we're back again. This is episode 7. We've been blessed with wonderful reviews, a lot of shares, likes, and subscribes. We're gaining some serious momentum. And I think there's a lot of people out there that I think we're helping day by day, one financial life at a time. So we're in the saving world right now. That's why I got Superman over my shoulder. This is going to be a great episode. We've got a lot of action-packed, jam-packed tips and tricks for people just to basically own their financial future, have more confidence, get more organized, and just one day at a time. But we thank you for this opportunity to spend with you so we can help with you every step of the way. So let's get right to it. Madison, what are we talking about today?
Today we are talking about building a network of advice. And to kick things off, Rob, do you want to go into just why it's so important to have a network of advice?
Yeah, so one of my 7 keys is network of advice. It details why it's so important. It details also networking. So later on in this episode, we're going to discuss the powers and the importance of networking.
Right.
But let's start with network of advice. I was, a lot of great authors behind me taught me, if you will, by just their wisdom. Jim Rohn has a great quote that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So I use that in my household with my children. Like, hey, listen, your network, who you're hanging out with. Constantly weed the garden of your friendship. Constantly weed the garden of your network. You want to get into the neighborhood that you want to move into. Those are the people you want to hang out with, not the neighborhood that you want to move out of. Right. And obviously that's not for like, oh, my neighbors. It's theoretically, it's a mindset of constantly improving yourself and committed to growth. Okay. And so when you go into a networking event, are you in the right room? Are you talking to the right people? Are you building your network? One of the aspects that enlightened me on this for my own mom, and especially in the industry, was we built the network of advice for her, right? Financial advisor team, working well with the estate planning team, working well with the CPA.
Right.
And all of those have to play well in the sandbox together, right? My mom was going through what she was with my dad, being a medical advocate, being there for him, nurse, caretaker, and all of the above. And at the same time, if she didn't have my brother and I guiding her and building that network and that team of advisors for her through that difficult time as my dad went through cancer, she's also now dealing with a team of medical doctors, right? And so learning that language, right? She's not a doctor, she's not a lawyer, she's not any of this, but so it's very overwhelming. So we want to de-risk the anxiety. Ideally, you do that prior to any of this playing out in your life. So you're proactively proactive, as I always talk about. Think about your financial future, and then we'll get into sort of the best ways to do that.
Love it. And that's something that we talk about a lot in our office with clients is building a financial network in your life. Do you have any advice on how to build a financial network, what they should be looking for in, say, a financial advisor or a CPA or an estate planning attorney? How do they build a financial network for themselves?
Great question. And the first aspect is most, if not all, think that they don't have enough money to deal with a financial professional. And that's anything further from the truth. In fact, in order for you to get to where you want to be financially speaking, I would submit for consideration, you start early, you create with a professional a financial plan, and you work towards that plan and constantly check in so that you get to your goal quicker and faster. Okay, so you want to fast track it. So whether you think you are in the camp of hiring a financial advisor, sort of quote unquote, I have enough to work with,
right?
I would just say, try it, pick up the phone. But then the next question you're going to have is, where do I start? In the financial world, the advice that I would give anybody is I would start with a accredited investment fiduciary. So that's what our designation is. We're legally obligated to do what in our client's best interest. We don't have anything to sell. There's nothing we could sell. We have the ability to say, hey, listen, we create a financial plan and we build that plan to your investments and your goals and your dreams. And we make certain every step of the way, not only day one, but all the way through the years of our relationship together.
Right.
And on the course to the retirement or through retirement years, we're making certain that that plan is connected, and it's connected to you and your investments. And so the professional fiduciary aspect, that's only 5% of our industry for financial advisors. So that immediately cuts out 95% of the people you don't have to worry about, because they're not going to sell you something where there's a commission, so on and so forth.
Right.
That's a big key. Also, that professional fiduciary status puts the financial advisor on par with an attorney that takes the same oath from a fiduciary standpoint, and a CPA that takes the same oath from a fiduciary standpoint. So it's a really critical key. But I would start sooner than later working with a financial advisor, your parents' financial advisor, your friends of a friend's. Again, use that network of advice to sort of reach out, pick up the phone, and start sooner than you think. Because you'd be surprised. Most people have, in their career, 9 or 10 jobs through their lifetime, right? So that means that if you started with a 401k and a planned provided retirement account, chances are you change that job. Maybe that plan provider put it, or that employer put some money in there for you. You still have an old 401k left behind, right? If you're a teacher, old 401(b) or 457, all these different plans, they all add up. And over time, if you put them together, if you don't forget about them, you're stripping out all of the fees that each one of these institutions have. You're consolidating and organizing, and you're also concentrating to create wealth, right? If you have a little bit over here, a little bit over there, a little bit over there, put them all in one institution. Find a financial advisor that can sort of wrap them up, do that paperwork for you, and then get you on a plan, and having all your assets working for you in a fee light environment. And then, oh, by the way, let's attach our beneficiaries to just one account versus, oh, I wasn't married when I had that little 401k and it's left over here. And I don't even know, maybe my mom's my beneficiary. I don't even know. Now you have kids and now you have a life.
Right.
And so tie up those loose ends. And then sort of the financial advisor in your network of advice can help you with that.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think it's so important to find someone who is an accredited fiduciary, because they are legally obligated to do what is in your best interest.
One of the things that we also do is we proactively work with the CPA, okay? Or we proactively work with the estate planning attorney. Laws change in the estate planning world, right? Congress changes laws all the time. Well, that's great, but we want to create our plans that are flexible and they're built for today, but can change for tomorrow. And that's why you constantly have to work at it with your team network of advice in the financial world,
Right.
simply because Washington constantly changes, moves the goalposts, or changes the rules of the game. And oftentimes our life goes too quick, too fast, and we forget about that. And be like, oh, we need to update our beneficiaries, or we want to change this, or we should have this review. We want to get a trust. We want to keep it out of probate. We want to save some money, or create a legacy for our children. So there's bigger picture stuff. We help coordinate on that in the front end and then translate, right? We're not estate planning attorneys. We're not CPAs. We do not dispense that advice, but we know enough to be dangerous on the front end to say, hey, we know what you're trying to accomplish based upon your financial plan. Let's discuss this together. And then we get on the phone call, on the Zoom, in office, as a team together, because then we can see 2 or 3 steps down the road, like the CPA, like the attorney, and then bring that back home to your plan and make that happen.
Yeah, I think that's so important to find financial professionals that are willing to work well in the sandbox together. And another thing that we often do is refer our clients to CPAs and estate planning attorneys and the people that we know that we already have relationships with, and we already do work well in the sandbox together. So,
well, they're known. They have excellent reputations. They're connected. The level of care is the same level of care, standard of care that we have for our clients. Again, we don't take on everybody as a client. They don't take on everybody as a client. We also work well together, so we could proactively have that, again, that network proactive. In fact, that's the key for all of high net worth individuals. They don't have to know it all, but what they do know is they leverage their network of advice to get everyone in the room playing well together in the sandbox and say, hey, my wife and I want this to happen today, and tomorrow when we're gone, we want this to happen for the kids and the grandkids. Make it happen. And then they come and review, but they make certain that all of their team gets it done for them. And another point that I'll make about network of advice, as an example, you want to build your team prior to, God forbid, something happening, right?
Right.
If you look at the divorce rate, it's 50% plus. If you look at 9 out of 10 women will be solely responsible, and women outlive men. So in terms of, let's say, spouses. So chances are you don't want to be in the post-divorce fog world, right? You're going through it, and now you have to put your team together, or you're a widow and you've got that widow fog. It's a real thing. Emotionally, physically, there's a period of time for widows that they can't even clearly think straight.
It's
right?
overwhelming.
It's completely overwhelming. So that additional shock and stress, get this done sooner than later and start today. So that's another aspect of advice that I see proactively will save you a lot of stress in the future.
That was a lot of great advice on how to build a network of financial professionals. What's some advice on just networking in general? Say someone's going to a work event or some type of professional event in general. What's some advice on how to network with people just in general?
That's a great question, Madison. So one of the things I would say is the more hands that you shake, the more money you make. Okay.
I love that.
Think of it from a networking perspective.
Yeah.
You got to constantly build your network from just who you know, right? 2 degrees of somebody. And there's a good chance it's okay if that person is not personally connected from a professional aspect that you could utilize right now and work together in today's world. But there's a good chance that in the future, they might know somebody that you need to be connected with. So there's that. Another aspect, and it's really well known, is if you show me somebody's network, I'll show you their net worth. Right? So especially in the financial world, we see that all day long. So it's not so much, you've seen kids out of school, they're really well connected, or they build their network and they do really well. And people on the reunion are like, oh my gosh, you were the C student. They understood, right? There's street smarts, right? And then there's book smarts. And you have to have both. Right. To basically survive or thrive in this world. And so I think that's the key. So when you walk into a room, especially if you're new and you're out of college, you want to make certain that what room you're in, right? Before you go, research where you're going, who's on the guest list, so that you become the most, and here's another aspect of advice. When you're in that room, Madison, the key is to be the most interested person in the room versus the most interesting person in the room.
That's great.
Nobody really wants to hear any of us talk. But if we go to some, let's say, networking event or business event, and we get there and we start listening, genuinely, authentically connecting, and, keep asking follow-up questions and drilling down, there is a human element to be like, oh, you know what? I spent some time with Madison tonight at that event. A, I'll remember her because she was interested in me.
Right.
And 2, human nature. It makes somebody feel good about themselves.
Right.
So that's a key. That they may or may not teach you in school, but it's very critical. Be the most interested person, not the most interesting person in the room. Right?
I love that. What are some questions to ask people when you're in that situation?
Yeah, so 3 questions that I would always submit for consideration or have somebody have them ready. The first question is, Madison, you're very successful. Great to meet you. What are the steps today that made you so successful that got you in this room today? Right? Another question is, Madison, what's the best advice from that you would recommend for me to follow up on as it relates to your success and how you got here? And then the third one is, what's something that I can continue to do to continue to learn from you? So you kind of want to basically say, hey, listen, let me stay connected with you. Now, that's not as easy as it looks, because immediately you could be like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to be best friends. I've already got a network. I've already got, a lot of things going on in my life. So the aspect to that would be, what value could you be of that person that you're trying to learn from? So as an example, when we first got together, we weren't hiring.
Right.
And then you said, well, wait a minute, is your practice growing? And I said, we're growing tremendously. And you said, well, would you, my goal and objective is to become a financial advisor. If we get together and we continue to grow, I can help you with the growth of your practice, but also grow the practice as well. So immediately you turned it back on me and said, wait a minute, you don't know that you need me because I can add value to you, Rob.
Right.
So that was a good aspect of how this all works together. So immediately then my mindset shifts to, I wasn't even thinking it that way. And now, okay, well, that's the rule of reciprocity, right? You can help me and I can help you. You can learn the whole way, through and see our process and how we do things. And the result is in the last year and a half, we've grown exponentially. So it has been a wonderful partnership together, and that reciprocity has worked out tremendously. So you were able to network through and to Blanky Shine Wealth Management, but more importantly, you were able to say, hey, Rob, I can add value. Just give me that opportunity. And that's when everything changed.
And we talked about it in, I think, the first episode, but the way that I met you was through networking from a family friend. And something that I've learned is that your network is everywhere. I think people kind of underestimate just how big everyone's network is because, everyone that you know that's what your network is, whether it's your family friends, people that you work with, people that you used to work with, your friends' friends. Like, I think people's network really is a lot bigger than they think it is.
And it's again, another thing that we've always said is change your daily digital, right? So one of the most powerful tools is LinkedIn. If you're just starting out, I just had a conversation with my daughter yesterday, and I said, she's a senior in college right now. I said, how's your LinkedIn profile? And I said, so let's start continuing to work on it, continue to build that network of network. Because, in 6 months she'll be graduating. And so you start today, you don't start the date of graduation when you get your cap and gown and say, okay, corporate America, hire me. It's not how that works.
Yeah, that's great advice. And LinkedIn is a really powerful tool.
Really is. So that's another advice for those that are just looking to graduate or looking to transition. That's another way of constantly, every single day. It doesn't take much time, but I tell you one thing, don't tell me you're not on social media doing other stuff. So change your daily digital, increase your financial literacy, increase your network of advice, and constantly do yourself a favor and take care of your future you.
I agree. And I also love what you said about the books. I've never thought about books being part of your network of advice, but it really is. The things that you read, the things that you watch on social media, that's all like you can get advice from it. It's part of your network of advice.
It's fantastic. It's changed my life. And you can take any book home you want, start anywhere you want.
Well, thank you. Going back to how powerful of a tool LinkedIn is, that's something that was stressed a lot to me at school, and it's such an easy thing. Just keeping your LinkedIn up to date. If you're looking for a job, you can put the banner above your profile picture that says open to work or something like that. Having a bio that is well written, authentic to you, shows that you're ambitious. It shows just who you are as a person, shows a little bit of your personality. Having all of your past work history up to date, anywhere that you volunteered. If someone goes and looks at your profile, you want it to be authentic to you, show your personality a little bit. Just as much information that you can have on there, I think is great.
I think that's excellent advice. And you also have to be, especially if you're in the industry looking for a job, you're coming out of college looking for a job, or you want to switch jobs. Doesn't matter what industry. This is the advice I give to my daughters is make certain you're paying attention to your social media profiles.
Yeah.
Because employers may or may not say that they look, and it may or may not be legal that they look, but that's public information. And whether the employer does or not prior to that meeting says an awful lot about that person before they walk in for that interview.
Right.
This episode is brought to you by Blanky Shine Wealth Management, serving the Coachella Valley for the first 40 years and built for the next 40 years. And for more information about Blanky Shine, it's blankyshinewealthmanagement.com. So most recently, Hightower had an event in Chicago. It's an annual event, and they basically asked teams to select a financial advisor or a team member that they would like to send back to our headquarters. And it's basically a 2-3 day event. And we selected Madison, but we felt that extremely important to invest in your future. One, to build your network of advice internally in this company. And two, you get to see headquarters and so on and so forth, and maybe have some fun along the way. But the take home from that was, it's not, let's say you go to a conference as you did. It's the networking that happens in the break time, at the lunchtime, or in the social events that they may have throughout that time. Now, why is that critically important? You and I already had this conversation before we had you attend the conference.
Yes.
But I said, think of it this way. Every person that you meet within this firm, right, from a networking standpoint, is 1 degree or maybe immediate opportunity for a solution that we need on behalf of our clients, right? On a day-to-day basis, we have organizational and operational needs from a financial services standpoint. We have investment and trading needs. We have a plethora of needs that our team does in the background to help service our clients.
Right.
Our clients don't see it, but we're working tirelessly to make certain that it is a first-class approach and it's seamless on their side, our relationship with the client. Internally, sometimes there's friction points, right? Sometimes there's bottlenecks. Sometimes there's, you're in the queue. So in order to get where we need to be on behalf of our client quicker and faster, and maybe fast lane that is the network.
Right.
Right. So you pick up the phone. And another advice I would give is, I understand everyone loves digital. I understand everyone loves emails and let's say WebEx or whatever it happens to be internally. But there's also the element of picking up the phone. And that's the lost art, whether it's B2B, B2C, right? Business to business, business to consumer, or even just in real life. I stress that with my kids all the time. I'm like, okay, you can send in a request via email to your teacher, but did you go to office hours in person?
Right.
Did you pick up the phone?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to hear you texted somebody and they didn't text you back. I want to see that you made the effort. Right. And so they also, on the other side, they're willing to, you pick up the phone, Madison, what can I help you with? Oh, we got a trading issue we need to, address. Can you, get us 2 million treasuries?
Yeah.
Right.
I completely agree.
And they drop that for us versus waiting in the queue or, so you had that opportunity to go to Chicago. Tell us a little bit about Chicago event itself.
Yeah, it was a great experience. And you're right. The sessions were great, but just being able to meet people from other teams, meet people that work at Hightower was so cool. And I like what you said, that I learned different things that other firms are using, that it was like, wow, like maybe that could be something that we could start using at our firm. But also I met teams that are using the same tools that we use, but in different ways. And it was so cool to learn different ways that we can use the tools that we already have in our office.
I love learning new things. I honestly, and if we're using the same sort of, let's say, software or whatever it is, and you're using it in a different fashion, I'm like, where the heck have I been this whole time? Like so I love seeing and exploring it, networking, different elements and aspects, and then just meeting new friends, right? Building a network is like building a friendship, right? A relationship, and it's genuine and authentic. And even if we just want to have fun, it's like one of those things where you don't know if I can help you or you can help me in the business world in the future, maybe not, or in the personal world, right?
Right.
Let's say we have a medical issue and one of my good friends is a doctor, right? So we can help each other out in the world of the networking. You never know how this world works. And that's why it's very important to continue to constantly work and grow at it.
Right. And I met so many people that use the same tools that we use. And now if I ever do have a question about it, or we're working on a new project and I am curious if another team has had a similar project and if they've used the tools that we use, and now I have a network of people that I can reach out to and see if they have a solution that maybe we haven't thought of before.
Oh, that's wonderful. Invaluable. Well, great to hear about your experience in Chicago. There's going to be many more opportunities, and you've met a lot of great friends as well in the process, and you've also built your network.
Yes, it was a great experience.
So leading up to the Chicago event for the company, one of the things that was impressive to me, where immediately, as soon as you presented it to me, I was all in, is you proactively saw that there was an event for Hightower and for teams to have somebody go there to learn and to grow, so on and so forth. And so network, bring back best practices, and then, add value, if you will. Well, you proactively reached out to me and said, hey, Rob, if you're thinking about sending somebody from our team back to Chicago, I would like for you, I submit for consideration to put my name there. I'd like to represent our team. And immediately for me, that is exactly what you want to see and hear from, you know, an associate, an advisor on your team, somebody who is thinking about growth, right? It's that growth mindset, which is another key to financial wellness. But you also have to do it professionally, and you also have to be your own advocate. So you knew you would like to attend, and then you'd bring back some great best practices, ideas, right? We'll have a debriefing as a team. We'll go through it. What did you learn? What connections did you make? You know, what can we do quicker, faster, stronger? And what value does this bring to all of us? And you jumped ahead and said, Rob, I raised my hand. I would love to do it. And I was like, thank God, because I didn't even think about that yet. And I said, buy your ticket and you're gone. Let's go.
Thank you again, Rob, for allowing me that opportunity. It was a great experience. And I also want to add that something I think is really important in maintaining your network, and after you make the initial connection with someone at an event, or someone takes the time to interview you or have a coffee chat or give you a phone call or anything like that, a way to help maintain that relationship is expressing gratitude to that person, whether it's sending an email thank you, or personally what I think is the best is sending a handwritten letter or note to that person. I think people really appreciate that, and it makes a huge difference, and it helps them to remember you.
That's a great advice and great insight, Madison. And it takes me back to original networking days, right? Where we would go to events, exchange business cards. And I was taught that as soon as I got the business card, make a note on the back of the business card, right? Wearing blue jacket, yellow shirt.
Oh, that's great.
And then kids' names, dogs' names, family, vacation. Make it personal, right? So that the next time I follow up with, or I write that, hey, you know, John, it was great meeting you at this event. Hope you enjoy your time in Italy. And then I just saw this travel magazine about Italy, and here you go. You know, you send it to them.
Yeah.
And it has nothing to do with business. But you know what? Two things. One, I'm going to remember that person from a networking standpoint. Two, it's the art of wow. And we do that for our practice for our clients, where we proactively try to send them some things that are not business related, right? Maybe they are going to be traveling. Maybe they're going to go see their grandkids, you know, at Baylor, and we get some hats for them, right? Because they're going to go to the big game. And we send that to grandma and grandpa before they show up on campus. We just save them a trip to, you know, the bookstore. They're probably going to take the grandkids to the bookstore anyway, but at least their fit looks good as soon as they roll up. But we proactively get ahead of that. But back in the day of networking, you know, then you go to today in your CRM, right? We have Salesforce and we do that, but we still do. And another bit of advice I would give is I do send emails when I do networking events or when we do back and forth. And in the subject heading, I'll write like what we talked about, like the most important thing or something cool, or trip to Italy as an example. And so I'll send the email, trip to Italy. Hey, hopefully, you know, wonderful meeting you. Looking forward to seeing you again in the future. Enjoyed our time together. Just a quick note, enjoy your, you know, summer vacation in Italy. Can't wait to hear all about it. Send some photos.
Yeah.
Immediately I push send, so it captures in my CRM. But more importantly, when I think of John, I'm like, trip to Italy, it searches if I have to do an email search, it comes out immediately. So I have that personal connection. I have that being authentic and interested in that person.
Right.
But more importantly, they're going to be like, next time we see each other, again, we built that relationship. It's not about business anymore. It's about like, let me show you some photos from Italy. You know?
Yeah.
And so
that's really cool.
And that's exciting. You know, then you get excited for them. So that's sort of a tip and a trick that, it's that gratitude, that follow up, that proactive. Handwritten is even better in today's age, but the digital copy via email helps all of us sort of retain that information and that digital footprint as well. All right, Madison. Well, we had a wonderful episode today. Thank you for being my partner in crime.
Of course.
I hope we've added a lot of value to our audience, a lot of tips and tricks, as I said before. And we also would encourage our audience to like and subscribe, share with somebody in your network that you could help grow their network, your network, but also add some value to their day, change their daily digital, get them some, you know, on the right path financially speaking. And I don't say that you don't have time, because everyone has time. But the key here is just to, be proactive, help somebody else out, share, like, and subscribe, and change somebody's daily digital. You're going to change their financial future. We know that for sure. But let's close our episode today, as we normally do, with a quote. One of my favorite quotes, it's actually Robert Kiyosaki. I'm a huge fan. Got a lot of his books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Real Estate Loopholes. If you haven't read Robert Kiyosaki, The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that's the first book to start with. It'll change your life, financially speaking. He's really on point with everything that he has. I could actually go on about that book right now, but I'll just leave it for another time. But it's such a great book. But one of the greatest quotes that I love is sort of wrapping up and encompassing our conversation today. One of the 7 keys, the network of advice, right? So Robert Kiyosaki says, the richest people in the world look to build their networks. Everyone else is looking for work. So that's a big take-home point today, is the importance of building your network, who you're associated with, and who you want to be associated with in the future. So this is the advice that we have for you today. Thanks for your time, and tune in for the next episode of this season, which is the next key, the art of self-care. And that's going to be a great episode. So we looking forward to having you join the ride.
This podcast is brought to you by David Field, producer. It is produced and directed by David Field and Kristen George, and its mix, edit, and socials by Kristen George. Blanky Shine Wealth Management is a group of investment professionals registered with Hightower Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC, and with Hightower Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Securities are offered through Hightower Securities, LLC. Advisory services are offered through Hightower Advisors, LLC. This is not an offer to buy or sell securities. No investment process is free of risk, and there is no guarantee that the investment process or the investment opportunities referenced herein will be profitable. Past performance is not indicative of current or future performance and is not a guarantee. The investment opportunities referenced herein may not be suitable for all investors. All data and information referenced herein are from sources believed to be reliable. Any opinions, news, research, analysis, prices, or other information contained in this research is provided as general market commentary. It does not constitute investment advice. Blanky Shine Wealth Management and Hightower shall not in any way be liable for claims and make no expressed or implied representations or warranties as to the accuracy or completeness of the data and other information, or for statements or errors contained in or omissions from the obtained data and information referenced herein. The data and information are provided as of the date referenced. Such data and information are subject to change without notice. This document was created for informational purposes only. The opinions expressed are solely those of Blanky Shine Wealth Management and do not represent those of Hightower Advisors, LLC, or any of its affiliates.